Hey YouTube, my name is Jacob. This is my first video that's actually going to have English in it. Many people have been asking me to teach them sign language and so forth, and I think the easiest way for me to do that would be through video. But you have to understand that sign language is best taught actually from someone who's deaf. They are able to have the background and the experience that I cannot bring to the table being hearing myself. But I will try to give you at least a foundation to start on, and then hopefully through conversation, like any other language, through conversation, you can develop your skills better. So, a few starting things. Like I said, my name is Jacob, and when I was very little, my mom taught me the small little things like baby signs like more and please. And then when I went to 5th grade, I got a basics course, which is kind of like what you guys are going to get, where we did things like the Pledge of Allegiance and animals and so forth. I didn't really get into sign until about high school. And when I was in high school, I tried to start a club, which actually fell through because I didn't get a lot of people participating. But then I went to college, and my friends and we all got together and were able to have a club that was very successful and grew and had other classes and so forth. And since after college, I've continued to do my personal study. So, disclaimer number one, I am still a student. I am not certified, and I'm not an expert in sign language. I am still taking classes myself and learning. So I do make mistakes. I may have learned something that is not 100% accurate, so I need to put that disclaimer out there. The first thing I want to teach you about sign language is that it's not just moving your hands. Yes, moving your hands is a big part of it, but sign language has so much more to it, and it has a whole deaf culture that's behind the sign language and that's incorporated into the sign language. So you cannot properly be signing unless you understand the culture that goes along with it. And it is this deaf culture and sign language that really spoke to me. I don't have anyone who's deaf in my immediate family, but now that I've been practicing my sign and going to classes and so forth, I have been able to get more friends who are deaf. And it's been exciting to see the world through their eyes. I really appreciate being able to connect with them and so forth. The second thing I'd like to teach you about sign language is that it's not universal. Many people, especially hearing people, believe that sign language is the same sign language that you get anywhere you go, and that's just not true. Every country could have a different sign. I know there's Mexican sign, I know there's Afrikaans sign, and there's all these different signs. There is an international sign, but what I'm going to try to be teaching is ASL, which stands for American Sign Language. And this is different than ESS, which is English Standard Sign. English Standard Sign is every single word you sign. Every single word you would say in English, you would sign. And it's not the same as American Sign Language. American Sign Language is its own language. It's used here in the United States and also in some other countries neighboring and around the area. It is actually more of a conceptual language, and it's more about the idea of what's happening, conveying the concept to another person. It's less concentrated on what an individual word means and so forth. Another thing I want to teach you about sign language is that not only is it not universal, but also within America they have different dialects. And that should not be a surprise. I mean, we have different accents. You know, you go south, you have a southern accent, up to Boston and have a Boston accent. They have different signs based on their regions. And one of the most famous ones I know of is birthday. I mean, this is birthday. My middle finger is gently just touching my chin and then my chest. But I know that birthday's different in California. I've heard that it's like this, birthday, which is my sign for lucky over here in Pennsylvania. And I know that Pennsylvania has its own sign for birthday. They tug on their ear. They'll sometimes say birthday, but birthday. So again, it's not exact science. It's a language. It's living. It involves people who are living. So it's constantly changing. It's developing. New signs have to be created when new concepts are introduced. And they move and they grow the same way any other language would. So you can't sit there and be like, oh, well, this is this one sign that I learned and this is the right one. It could be the right one for your area, and then you just go 30 minutes west and you're in a different area that has a different sign. Now, normally the signs, like accents, don't prevent you from understanding what the person's saying. Maybe you have to clarify and say, wait, what's that sign? But you can still hold conversations across the different regions. It's not like you're suddenly unable to speak to someone just because they have maybe a few different signs here and there based on their region. But it's important to remember that I went to school up in Massachusetts, just south of Boston, and I was learning signs up there that when I came back home down to Pennsylvania, they were different, and I had to adapt. I have to learn. Does that mean I forget those? No, I just have to be able to put in my mind, oh, this is a regional sign difference. These are both conveying the same concept, because that's the thing. They're not meaning the same word. You can't get locked into that. They're conveying the same concept. So, what I've learned and what I believe to be proper when you're doing American Sign Language is not to actually speak out loud. When you're speaking out loud in English, you tend to depend on the English grammar. You tend to search out a sign for every single word, and what's really going to happen is you're going to drift away from the concept. You're going to drift away from the sign language, how it should be signed. That does not mean, though, that your mouth won't be making shapes and so forth. Like I said earlier, American Sign Language and all sign language is not just about your hands. There's actually a great deal of it is in your body language as a whole. The tilt of your head, the raising and lowering of your eyebrows, the moving of your shoulders, and the shape of your mouth. All of these things are part of sign language and contribute to the grammar. So in the hearing world, you hear tones and how they move in a sentence. Like when I ask a question, my voice goes up. Do you want to go to the movie? Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. It goes up. Well, you can't hear that raise in a world where you're deaf. So what you do is you use your face, the raising of the eyebrows, like I said, and so forth, to try to convey that kind of tone. It's the closest way I can relate it.